My girlfriend and I moved into the house during the last days of spring, and it felt like the beginning of a new chapter, like everything had finally aligned: the walls, the garden, the light in the morning, the quiet at night. All of it was exactly what we had dreamed of. And we even had Bella, our rescued cat who loved to chase light reflections and watch the world go by from the windowsill. And everything about it felt like home, until we started noticing the house next door. The one on the right, the one that seemed to breathe without life. Its windows were hollow and dusty, and the door was half boarded, and there was no sign of movement. Not even insects danced in its shadows. We found out the owner had begun renovations but never returned. The work was half finished, fences removed, wood and nails stacked in corners like forgotten plans. Our back garden and theirs were split by nothing, more than the air between them, wide open, no barriers, just an invisible line. And then behind that abandoned shell of a house was another property, a small place that looked like it, housed people who never slept. Always something going on. We saw young men sometimes coming through the back garden of the abandoned place, cutting across it casually like it belonged to them, stepping over rotting planks and weeds to reach the front street. And at first we said nothing. We assumed they knew the owner, that it was all allowed. But deep down, something felt wrong. Our first night was cool and quiet. We sat under a sky full of stars, sipping tea and talking about nothing and everything. Our eyes wandered naturally, and soon we noticed him, the man in the window, staring at us with no shame, no blinking, no emotion, just watching, his face in darkness, his body still like a painting set into the wall. We waited, hoping he would turn away, but he never did. We eventually went inside and locked the door. Days passed normal enough. We went about our routine, unpacked, made plans, bought plants, but something inside me kept returning to that blank face in the window like a whisper, echoing in my chest. Then came the second night. We were in the garden again late at night, and the air was thick with silence. Then the sound of wood shifting the broken fence moved, and three men appeared. They just stood there staring, saying nothing. The one in front held a large black bag, and something about the way he gripped it made my stomach twist. He offered us stolen washing up tablets, and we declined. I made a joke to ease the tension, and he smiled in a way that felt too slow and too wide. And then they left, without a word, not through a gate, not through a path, but just back into the abandoned yard like ghosts returning to their hollow place, and we knew they would come back. And they did. They came back, and they came. Often never asking, never warning, just appearing in our space like it belonged to them, like we were the ones intruding. They lifted the broken fence again and again, stepping into our yard, staring sometimes, whispering, never laughing, never speaking to each other. And we started locking the doors earlier, pulling the curtains tighter, but it never helped. We were just two women, both 20, both small and quiet and alone. And whatever game they were playing, we knew we were not supposed to win. One day the police came. No sirens, no knocking. They just appeared on the side of our house, walked into the abandoned yard, lifted the fence, looked around, and then left, as if searching for something that never existed. And I watched from the window, wondering if they knew what we knew, or if they were part of it too. And then a few days later, the knock came, this time on our door. Real police. This time explaining that the house behind had been cleared out, the men removed due to complaints from others as well, not just us. And for a moment we felt relief, a heavy breath we had not known we were holding. We thought maybe it was over, but the quiet was a lie. One evening while I was bathing, there came a loud bang. A thud, like someone had kicked something hard outside. I ran out still wet, found my girlfriend at the hallway, spare bedroom window. Phone in hand, recording her face, pale her voice. A whisper. She told me a man had pointed at our window, and when she saw him, he ran full speed toward our house. Tried the door handle, sprinted into the yard, and then began banging on the windows of the empty house. Us. Like something inside him needed to get out. We called the police. They took the video, wrote notes, left, and did nothing. Then came the whistling at 216 in the morning, the kind of whistle that men use when they want attention or when they want to scare you. And then tapping on the glass, soft, rhythmic tapping. And when we checked the camera, there was nothing. Nothing at all, like it had never happened. But we knew better. We left the next morning, went to my mother's house, and when we came back, the doorbell camera had been removed, carefully placed on the floor SD card. Gone. Someone had been here. Someone who did not want to be seen. And the police told us to keep everything locked. They said the missing camera might mean something was being planned, and that was the first time they told the truth, and it only made us more afraid. They kept coming, more whistling, more banging, more games with shadows and sound, and we recorded everything and kept calling the police, and still they did little, and we tried to live through it. We tried to sleep through it until one night we were in bed and watching old videos, laughing for the first time in weeks, and then we checked the live camera feed. And there he was again, a man in a black mask standing in front of our garden, arms wide like a statue of something. Ancient head, tilted eyes staring up into our window, and then he spoke, but we could not hear him. Then he turned, walked across the street, and stood there watching for half an hour, just watching. We called the police, and they told us staring was not illegal. We were told to calm down and to stop overreacting, but the fear was real and heavy and growing. It made every noise a threat, every creak a warning. And then at 252 in the morning, the camera caught them again. Two masked men, flashlights in hand, one carrying a crowbar, and we froze, watched them move, like shadows, like something born from fear itself. We never learned their names or their reasons, and maybe that is worse. Maybe that makes it all mean more. He kept returning, standing across the road, pointing, laughing, sometimes waving, most times just watching, and the police did nothing. And we began to feel like ghosts inside our own home, haunting a space we no longer owned, and even now he comes back sometimes today. In fact, we saw him again staring up at us, and we recorded it. And it is still not enough. And then there is me, and what happened to me, and the faces, and the voices, and the way they mimicked him, the way strangers started to speak like my ex-boyfriend Caleb, and how everything began to unravel the day I left him. He was not violent, not with fists, but with silence and suspicion, with the way he would ask the same question twice and see if I answered the same way, with the way he would log my phone usage and talk about it like a game. And when I left him, I vanished, changed numbers, shut down socials, moved, and thought it was over. But it was not over. Not even close. The first was the barista smiling too wide, saying, "Good morning, sunshine," in the same sarcastic tone he used when I cried. Then the rideshare driver asking if I figured out what I parlay was running from then. The stranger at the grocery store, whispering that I did not get to disappear. And the man on the street noticing my hair. The woman humming the same song Caleb used to play when he was angry. It was like they were puppets, with the same hand inside them. All different faces, but the same knowing. Stare, the same crooked smile, the same eyes. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought maybe he hired someone to stalk me, or maybe it was just paranoia. But then I contacted his sister. I told her to tell him to stop, and she said, Caleb was in rehab 6 weeks, no phone, no visitors, and then she posted a photo of him, pale and thin with a 1-day chip, and I had to accept that it was not him, or not just him. Still, they came, and they watched, and they said his words with their own lips, and I began to think it was not about watching me, but about making sure I never stopped watching for him. I remembered once he told me about a forum, about people who share tactics, ways to control, ways to dominate. Maybe he posted about me. Maybe he paid people, or maybe this was something worse, something bigger, a game, or a test, or a dare. And I ran. I moved again. I dyed my hair. I vanished. But still it followed me. Last week, a woman passed me on the street and said, still, hiding behind books, sunshine, and kept walking without looking back, and I knew it would never stop. And then there was the lake house, the trip with my family, the rare time we all came together, cousins and aunts and uncles and laughter and sand and blue sky. And then the garage, the place some of us were told to sleep because the main house was full, and at first it was fine, and then it was strange, and then it was something else entirely. The garage had carpet in the bathrooms, mold on the walls, stains on the sheets, a smell of time and neglect. So we washed the bedding one load at a time into the early hours, and then we tried to sleep, but sleep would not come. And at 3 in the morning came the first bang, something heavy slamming into the garage door, and I sat up and listened and tried to breathe. And then it happened again, louder, stronger, like something trying to break in. And on the third time, my cousins woke, and we knew it was real, and we texted our aunt, and our uncle came and knocked and brought us into the main house, and that is when he told us he had seen a man standing behind the garage, staring, not hiding, not moving, just watching. And when he called out, the man walked away into nothing, leaving no sound, no footprint, no trail. And my brothers found gesture cards, one in the garage, one in the house, and something about that felt like a message or a joke or a curse. And then the next night, my mother woke to footsteps and someone trying the basement door where the boys were sleeping, and she rushed to stop them. But no one was there, and no one was ever found, and we left early, drove home talking about shadows and warnings and questions with no answers. And I wonder now how many stories like these exist, how many people walk in fear of something they cannot name. And I wonder if anyone ever really escapes.